All right, so this is going to be a review of Avatar 2, Avatar: The Way of the Water. The first Avatar movie came out in 2009. It's really popular. I remember seeing it and it blew me away. And I still like the movie, even though it has some issues. It's a little bit too derivative. There's some cliches in it. The villain is hilarious, how much of a caricature he is. And he's back for this one. We'll talk about him. Uh, but yeah, I still like that movie. But I'll be honest, right off the bat, I don't like this one. And there's two things about this movie that made the theater experience excruciating. I mean, it felt like torture. It really did, and we'll get into those. So it's directed by James Cameron once again. The lead character is back again, Jake, played by Sam Worthington. Him and the love interest from the first movie, they're married now. Neytiri, played by Zoe Saldana, they're married. They have their kids now. They have a family. Sigourney Weaver's character, I forgot her name, Augustine or something like that. She died in the first movie. She tried to transfer her body over to her avatar body, though it didn't work. Somehow that avatar body got pregnant and gave birth to a kid, and so that kid is adopted into their family as well. So the humans are back and they're attacking Pandora, and so they've been fighting these conflicts against them and things like that. But Stephen Lang's character, the villain from the last movie, is back because they made avatar bodies for them. I don't know if it was on Earth or on a spaceship, whatever. They made avatar bodies for them, and before that final conflict, their memories got put into those bodies just in case they died. So now they're back, but in avatar bodies or Navi bodies, and they're hunting down Jake and his family. So they leave their tribe to get away from them and to keep that tribe safe, but then also to protect their own family. And they go to this other tribe of water based Navi. Right? They live in the water. Water is a big part of what they do. So because they're going to be there and they're going to stay there, they need to learn their ways, the way of the water. They have to learn how to swim and things like that, even though their bodies aren't really adapted to that. So it's pretty much that for most of the movie is them just getting used to the water and that other tribe of Navi, while also trying to stay away from Stephen Lang's character, the villain from the first movie, and his group of people that are hunting them. So positives, the obvious positive here. This movie is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the colors. I mean, it's beautiful. Pandora looks beautiful. Like obviously when they get to the water looks amazing. The different colors of like the plants and different things underneath the water, and there's the different sea creatures that you get to see. They still have that thing where their bodies, the Navi bodies, they glow bright, like with colors at night and under the water and things like that. It's absolutely gorgeous. I don't think I can say it enough, really. You could probably just have this up on the TV, mute that chick because the story's not that great, and you could just enjoy looking at it. I mean, it's stunning, like breathtaking. The movie almost feels like it could just be, because they have like a Pandora theme park or whatever. It could pretty much just be the background of like a ride that you go on or something like that, rather than an actual movie. Also, uh, there's some interesting things here with them going to meet that other water group, the water tribe of Navi, where their bodies are different, right? Not just do they look different? They're different color and things like that, different tattoos on their body and things, but also their hands, like their arms, are much thicker, I guess, to help them kind of get through the water with their hands. And they can breathe underwater for a really long time, which is a big thing that they have to overcome when they first start to learn how to swim. They have these tails that kind of look like fins a little bit, and that helps them go through the water. So that was interesting to see, a different group of Navi and how evolution has changed based on their environment and things like that. That was really cool. It got old because that's pretty much all this movie is. We'll talk about that, but that was good. And then there's a really big theme of family, almost on a Fast and Furious level. I mean, they're constantly talking about we need to protect our family, family, family. This voiceover of Jake, Sam Worthington saying, "Oh, I need to protect my family. That's a man's place," and all these other things. Big family dynamic. The oldest son is always getting scolded for not taking better care of his younger brother, who's a lot more wild. He's brash and hot-headed. And then there's some emotional moments with them, the whole family aspect that did work. That was touching and did have some emotion behind it. Uh, as far as story wise, that's probably the best of it. With that being said, this is still a mediocre film. You don't really care about the characters. The movie just kind of it just kind of goes like in early on. It feels like the pacing's a little bit too quick. It's like, whoa, it's been years, and you're not really getting me all that react. You're not getting me back into Pandora really, having me, you know, feel like I know it again, or at least like lead me into feeling like I know this area and things like that before we move on to like the water people and different aspects of it. It doesn't really feel like it feels like you're kind of rushing through it. Like, oh, you have a family now as a montage with voiceover, and then all of a sudden, oh, we're fighting the humans again. What are they fighting for? Is it for unobtainium or whatever the fuck it was in the first movie? That thing is never mentioned. I don't think they ever mentioned unobtainium in this movie. Honestly, I don't even know what the humans are even going after. I think there was a one line where it said that they're partially doing it for some aging thing that they can get from a creature, but that's barely part of the story. But then also, I guess humans want to live on Pandora. It's like you can't pick another planet where there aren't hostile inhabitants and where we can actually breathe at least for more than like a few seconds without dying. I mean, that doesn't really make sense, but it's a throwaway line. Doesn't matter anyway. But after that little setup, then they go to the water tribe or the water people. That reminds me of another Avatar series. But they go to the water people to learn the ways of the water. And really, at that point, it gets repetitive. It's just them kind of hanging out with them. There's a little drama and things like that. Obviously, there's a budding romance with one of the sons and the daughter or whatever. Of course, the daughter of the chief. Of course, the son that they have issues with is bullying them, son of the chief. So obviously, that makes it more complicated. But then also, the romance that's budding is with the daughter of the chief. So of course, that's going to cause a little bit. And so it's like little drama shit. Sigourney Weaver's like kid from like Awa or whatever, she's finding her connection with Pandora and with Awa because she's special in that way, even though they never really fully spell it out. But she can like connect to things and control things and stuff. And she passes out at one point. Oh no, is she going to be able to get back? So it's repetitive in that the kids will get into some kind of life threatening situation or something like that, right? They'll be looking for them. Oh, where are they? Where are my kids? And then they'll finally get the kids back, and there's like they're frantically trying to bring them back after being passed out or something like that. There'll be some kind of conflict. The kids will go missing, or the kids will almost die, and they'll deal with that, and then they'll just move on to the next time that happens again, and that it keeps happening over and over again. That's majority of the movie is them just being with that water tribe and having a little drama or a little issues happen there, but nothing all that interesting too. There's this other creature that one of the kids is really into, but he was exiled, so it causes problems with the tribe. I didn't care about that either. There's some touching moments between him and that sea creature, but I didn't care about that either. It's just it it feels like it drags like a motherfucker, man. We can get into the two things that I really didn't like when I was watching this. So the 3D, I saw this movie, the original movie in 3D. So I'm like thinking, okay, I'll see the second one in 3D. The 3D really impressed me the first time around. So I saw this movie in 3D, and that was a big mistake. The 3D is terrible. The shots look like completely distorted, and like the depth of field isn't right to where it just doesn't look right. It's kind of blurry, too blurry to the point where it hurts your eyes. It was making my head hurt. There's points where the subtitles, the yellow subtitles that come up, I had to close one of my eyes to be able to actually read the entire subtitle because my both eyes couldn't focus on it in order to read it because the picture of it was just kind of off to where it just wouldn't look right. Right? There's multiple times where I had to close one eye because my eyes couldn't fully focus on the entire shot. And or at least what was in the foreground of the shot when it comes to the depth of field. And it just didn't look right. It didn't look right, and it was making my head hurt. So with the movie being as long as it is, and the movie being as mediocre as it is, to where it just feels kind of forced, like you just threw together whatever you could for this sequel when the first one was supposed to be standalone anyway, it was really feeling torturous sitting through this thing with how badly I was like struggling to watch it with the 3D. Since we're on the length, like I said, they spend so much time with the water people that the movie does drag. 3 hours, 3 hours. And that last hour, man, that's where the real torture set in. Because I was like, man, you guys are just kind of hanging out with the water people up until, Stephen Lang's character just pops up so that he can fight against you guys. I mean, that's it. And for the movie to be 3 hours, over 3 hours, it was painful. It was painful. right? I was like, when is this conflict going to start? It doesn't feel like it really has much forward momentum into the conflict. The conflict just happens. Like, oh, they found him now. It's like, all right. Anyway, there's this other thing with this little boy. That's another thing. There's too many characters in this thing. There's a little boy that was left over when the humans left because I guess a baby or a kid can't be put in cryo freeze or whatever it is for them to go travel back to Earth. So I guess he was just left there with the scientists and things like that. That's another thing. How the scientists by themselves able to keep this going? Where are they getting their resources, their funding? I don't know. I thought they were getting it through the military. If the military got sent off, I can't imagine the government is still paying for their research somehow. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The boy, the Tarzan, little Tarzan boy, you see him in the trailer. He has a parent that's important to the story that's caused a little bit more drama. I didn't care, and I didn't care for that character at all. I think that actor, all the voice acting work is pretty good. Like all the performances, I think are good. But that kid, I think he's terrible. Right? He keeps repeating the same lines over and over again. Don't kill him. What are you doing? No, don't hurt him. Don't hurt him. And his line delivery just wasn't working for me, man. I think that character is completely forced into the narrative because I mean, this entire thing is forced. It is. This was standalone. We could let that first movie be the first movie. The movie tries to like because it has a similar score. It tries to hit some of the same beats with that same score again, but with none of the same impact. Like a character dies towards the end, and even though some of the family elements did work, I didn't care about that individual character, so I didn't care. So they're hitting some of the same beats with the music, right? Where they'll play the same music that played when the tree got attacked in the first movie, but it will have none of the same impact. I didn't feel anything. So there's that. I guess the action is okay, but I'm not invested in the characters or what's going on, right? The whole contrived bullshit about bringing the villain from the first movie back, that says forced sequel all over it, right? That we need to do whatever nonsense, like, oh, we can just put memories into an avatar. By that, you know, by that logic, you guys have just essentially cloned people, right? Like, that's a pretty big deal, right? Do you have guys have other species that you're just creating bodies for? I mean, that you can put other people's memories into to essentially have them keep on living even when they're gone. It felt like it was dragging so much. It felt like, okay, we're just here so we can see Pandora again, and so you guys can make more money off of a popular property, right? When he decided to make these movies, the movie was super popular, and I guess he assumed that it still would be all these years later. It's not. Everywhere I look, people are like, wow, the movie looks gorgeous, but I don't care. It wasn't popular enough to stand the test of time for people to still be invested enough to see a sequel this later on. So, other than people being like having like mild curiosity, I can't imagine too many people like, yeah, I have to see this. I mean, this movie has to make, I heard somebody say it has to make like 2 billion just to break even or something like that. That could be false, but if that's the case, goddamn, I don't think that's happening. I saw this in a big theater. Obviously, it was the 3D showing, so whatever. But saw it in a big theater. I think there were 3 other families there, right? So there was people in maybe 3 or 4 of the rows. My entire row was empty, other than me. Anecdotal, but I cannot see this movie making as much money as it would need to make, and I don't know what's gonna happen with those sequels, but whatever. Anyway, that's enough. This was more of me just kind of talking than even a full on straight up review, really. Yeah, I was underwhelmed. I couldn't wait to get the fuck out of there because of how bad the 3D was. And yeah, some of the emotional beats with the family work and, some of the action's kind of cool, but there's not really much here, especially not enough to go to a theater, even though, the spectacle of it would make you be like, well, at least go see it in a theater. No, it's not worth it. So I'm going to give this a rental. We've gone on for long enough. That is Avatar, The Way of the Water. Subscribe, and we're done.